Well, good evening, this is Hound Dog Steve coming to you on the 11th of June, and boy, we've had a busy weekend. All my wood is cut, split and stacked, so I'll be ordering some more wood and about another 3 cord I think I need. But yeah, this is looking pretty good. Got about maybe 2 cord there, 2.5 cord, something like that. But the big work of the weekend was this. I finally got the awning over the greenhouse, and it's actually looking a little bit like a greenhouse. Look at that. I'm pretty pleased with that. We just got a few little finishing details on the ends here, and I'm going to put a screen door in here. It'll be okay for the summertime, but in the winter time or the fall we're going to need that. And there is actually quite a temperature difference when you walk in here in the sun. It's quite intense under here. So I just had some little finishing off details. This bit right here, this cross piece to stop any sagging, because there's now quite a bit of weight on the top of these supports. And I've just tied it down with rope, put some screw eyes in there, and I just used a staple gun to staple the plastic to the wood. So I'm looking forward to great things. I do have another piece. This was basically the width of the plastic, so I couldn't go any further than what I did. But I have an end cut off here, this long piece, and I think I can make a skirt to go around there to completely close it in the fall and to keep it nice and toasty and warm. But as you can see, the tomatoes have taken and doing well. The peppers continue to flower even though they're little. So yeah, the old garden is starting to look like something. The beets are coming along really well, and you can see when you transplant, you definitely set them back a little bit, but that's okay. It'll all time out. These will be ready just a little bit later than these other ones. The melons have taken, and you'll notice that I am spot watering, so I'm really only watering at the base of the plant. This helps to conserve water, but it puts water exactly where you need it. And this is why I always make, like round the edge of the plant there, I don't know if you can see that, but I'll make a little hollow so that water has a place to run into and sit, because sometimes the surface can get so dry it won't take water. So here are all my lettuces. All those transplants have done wonderfully well and are coming on strong. But again, look at the ones I didn't transplant. You know, it definitely, like I say, it sets them back when you transplant stuff. And you definitely have to give it a couple of days because it will wilt. It goes into what I say is transplant shock. And so here we have the kale. But again, I don't know if you noticed there, where I harrow the weeds out in between these rows, it builds a little ridge right here. And so when I water, it stays in between this little dip right here, so the water's actually going to the root of the plant, and of course, you know, you get a little bit of spillover, but by and large the vast majority of it is going where you want it. Oh look, a little chippy. They're funny little things, aren't they? I think he's noticed me. He's getting a little drink. I've been putting peanuts down for them. And of course this is very handy, this jug. I paid $120 for that, and that has been a garden lifesaver. And this here is my rhubarb leaves in water soaking. As I say, I'm basically making a tea which will soak out the oxalic acid, and I will then add to this some soap so that it will penetrate things easily. And what you need is pure soap, not detergent, not the stuff that you get from the supermarket. This has to be a glycerin soap, and you can buy that at the health food store, and 1 part per 40. So one drop of soap for every 40 drops of water. These sunflowers, they just take off, and I haven't got the heart to pull them out now that they're here, now that they're doing their thing. Look at that, he's got the peanut. There you go. I want to tame him. I want him to eat from my hand. We used to do this when we took the kids camping. We would, of course, the chippies were all been fed everything by every kid that was going there. And so, yeah, they were pretty tame already, but I've never had these ones that are kind of wild like this, and tame them from the very start. Anyway, I'm getting them used to the concept of peanuts. Peas are doing very well. Okay, now this plant here, I'm just going to pull that out. Now take a good look at that. That is wild mustard. It's an invasive, and trust me, if you get that in your garden, you are going to be absolutely bogged down if you don't start pulling some of those up. And I pull it out all the time, but as you can see, look, there's some more there. It is just everywhere, and that is why it is called an invasive. So now all my Brussels sprouts and the broccoli and the cabbage have all taken. They're looking very good. New shoots coming out of the center, that's very important. As soon as you see new shoots coming out of the center, you know that they have taken. But so when you transplant, the first thing these do is those roots spread out, and they start to make a good firm base. So although it doesn't look like they're growing very quickly right now, all the work is happening underground. And once those roots spread out and they have a good base, you'll see these plants will suddenly shoot up, just like the lettuce did. Now here is my pollinator garden. I like to keep things flowering year round, so there is always something to attract pollinators into my garden. And of course the daylilies are just getting ready to burst out. They're sending out their flower strands. Now this here, this leaf here, you can break that off. Learn to recognize that. That is horseradish. And I always have a little bit of horseradish over there, and I will dig that up in the fall. All you need is a couple of chunks of root, and you can scrub and grate that, add some vinegar and a little salt, and there you go, you've got your own horseradish sauce. Now this is the hot mustard, and as you can see, it's coming into flower, and when these fully burst, I'll come down with the camera and I will show you the pollinators that come in to feed on these little yellow flowers. And that, my friends, signals the perfect time to cut these mustard down, chop them up into little pieces and churn them into the soil. And this is because hot mustard, not regular mustard seed, it needs to be hot mustard seed, is a biofumigant. And again, you can see the 3 different levels of growth. This one here is fusarium clear, this is almost fusarium clear, and this is not fusarium clear. So when you step back and you look at how much difference there is between these 3 beds. So I will be cutting these down this coming weekend, no doubt, and yes, biofumigating my beds. Potatoes are doing well. I haven't seen any sign of potato bugs, but we have a full bed, and as soon as these start to flower, I'm going to start digging up a few buds for supper. This is what I like, when you get to the point, you know, where you can just come down to the garden and pick all of your veggies for supper. Right here, you don't have to go to the store. And again, just pick these seed pods off, and you see that little thing, because that is taking energy out of the roots. Now I've just watered so everything is that peat green. Now sometime this week I'm just going to nip all of the buds, all of the tops, maybe down to about here, off the top of these stinging nettles, and they'll be part of my greens. You just boil them up, add a little butter, nice and tender. So the next thing to do, once these flower and I get them cleaned out, I'm going to be putting beans up against this rack. The soil is nice and clean now, nice and warm, sorry, and so it'll be perfect for the beans to go in. And I had my first strawberry today. Look, there's another one coming on. These are incredible plants. They flower all year long. They're an ever-bearing strawberry, and so every day I come down, I get a few strawberries for my breakfast. Now I'm going to have to peel back this netting. You can see the scapes are coming out on the garlics. Anyway, I haven't seen any leek moth in here, so I think this netting is doing the job that it is supposed to do. Now I see some breakage there, but I think that's just because it's pushing up against the net and breaking off as it grows. There you go, some tiger lilies in there, and of course the bee balm is also getting ready to flower. And then there'll be lots of reds in the garden. I love bee balm, it's one of my favourite flowers. And as you can see here, the buds coming out on the daylilies. Well, in the dying embers of the day, this is Hound Dog Steve, wishing you all a very pleasant week. I think the whole week is supposed to be like this. We're about 22 degrees, almost 0% humidity, It's what I call a Goldilocks day. Not too hot, not too cold. Just right. So you take care, have a great week, and we will talk to you very soon.